Littleton to Chelmsford. From a minister of music, accomplished musician, and library director, to a scholar, university professor, and a helicopter test pilot. From an outstanding print and broadcast journalist and community participant, to an outstanding high school athlete and dedicated physical education teacher and coach. From an outstanding secondary school math teacher and system-wide mathematics curriculum coordinator, to a highly successful educator and track coach and a high school All-American. From an outstanding high school English teacher, dean, principal, and college professor, to a pioneering high school athletic trainer and student-athlete advocate, to a highly decorated state trooper, U.S. Navy veteran, and dedicated church deacon. Our Hall of Fame recognizes alumni from all walks of life. We recognize alumni who distinguished themselves while they were in high school, alumni who have distinguished themselves in their profession, and alumni who have distinguished themselves in their community. We also recognize Chelmsford High School teachers and administrators who over the years, while at the high school, worked to make our high school, Chelmsford High School, the great educational institution that it is today, in spite of very difficult financial constraints. The Alumni Association also recognizes individuals and organizations who over the years have given generous and continuous support to the students of Chelmsford High School with the Lucy E. Simonian Golden Lion Award. Tonight, we honor such an individual. Your program lists those individuals and organizations that have been honored in the past. It is now my pleasure to introduce our Alumni Association President, Terry McSheehy.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, honorees. Welcome to the 20th Annual Hall of Fame Induction Dinner. Wow, 20 years. I've come to all of these. I was 22 at the first one. 63, shut up. I am pleased to be here again this evening. I'm sure that it will be an evening that will both amaze and please you, as it always does me. We again have 9 outstanding inductees. As you hear Mr. Simonian read of their accomplishments, whether in school, in their community, or in their careers, I know that you will again be reminded of just what a wonderful job CHS does of providing an atmosphere in which each individual can come to understand him or herself such that they might reach their full potential. It is this nurturing atmosphere that has allowed these 9 individuals to do those things that we are recognizing them for this evening. The CHSAA is continuing to move along at a brisk pace. We are trying at all times to improve our interactive website for our membership. We have now created a PayPal account so that members can renew their membership easily and hopefully more faithfully online. Hint, hint. Our endowment fund continues to grow. This past year, we gave out 94 awards from 81 established scholarships, awarding $47,775, bringing the total given out to just over $325,000. This year, needless to say, we will be giving out more. We continue to publish a newsletter, The Lion's Pride, 3 times a year. We receive tremendous support from the high school administration, in particular from Superintendent Don Yeoman, Principal Ann O'Brien, the deans Jeff Doherty, Heather Gallant, and Michael LaCava. It is this close working relationship that allows the CHSAA to thrive as it continues on its path towards what we hope will be full maturity. I want to take this opportunity to thank the Board of Selectmen and the school committee for their continuing support of this event and also of the Alumni Association as a whole. I also want to take a moment to thank the Rotary Club and the Boosters Club for their past and ongoing strong support of Chelmsford High School and the Alumni Association, as well as the Hall of Fame dinner. As I said last year, the one thing I've learned from coming to this dinner year after year is you appreciate brevity. Therefore, without further delay, I return you to Mr. Simonian.
And now, my pleasure to introduce the principal of Chelmsford High School, our own Ann O'Brien. Ann?
Thank you, Mr. Simonian, and welcome to all of you, and congratulations to all of our new inductees. I'm so proud to represent Chelmsford High School. I can't tell you how this means to me. To be a graduate, a student, a treasurer, a teacher, a dean, and finally a principal. I literally have very big shoes to fill. Al Thomas was what a great role model, as all the other principals have been. So it's been a real challenge for me to follow in their footsteps. Chelmsford High is so vibrant with all the wonderful things that are going on. I want to acknowledge all of our staff members that are here today, teachers and staff members. Would you please stand and just show your recognition of all the accomplishments of Chelmsford High School? These are the individuals who give the foundations for our students, and so many people that are here today remember wonderful experiences with the students and teachers that they had. This is what's exciting about being part of Chelmsford High School. I also want to thank our administrators, past and present, if they would stand and be recognized. Please stand, all of you. These individuals, for me, were mentors. In my first speech, when I was inducted into the Hall of Fame, Bernie Battle, a dean, colleague and teacher, and Jeff Doherty, colleague and dean, wrote my first speech, and it went like this: I am nothing without Bernie Battle and Jeff Doherty. So they gave me another speech. They said, Jeff is spelled Jeff, and Bernie is Bernie. Kidding aside, Chelmsford High School is all about relationships and all about family, and that's what we are. Thanks to George Simonian and the Alumni Association, we come back year after year to recognize the accomplishments of our graduates with the help of our teachers and the support of our staff members. We have a very special community. We should all be very proud of this because this doesn't happen everywhere. And people don't always want to come back and see their teachers and see their administrators. So we are so lucky to have George and our Alumni Association that perpetuate this. So thank you to them for doing all of this. This is a special night of celebration, a special night of community. Chelmsford High School is doing very well. We have wonderful students, many accomplishments, and just quickly I'll tell you that in just a week alone, I've made 13 trips back and forth to school in 5 days, and we have had, just in 1 week since Tuesday, a sports award night that recognized all of our students in winter sports. And we have Jack Fletcher, who is a wonderful right-hand man here, who tells me all the time, keeps it to a very logical sense of kids are kids, and remember that. Remember where you came from, and remember that kids will always do the same things. They'll do great things, but they will always make mistakes. And with those kinds of teachers and those kinds of administrators, we know that Chelmsford is a great place for all of us. But we had our sports awards night on Tuesday. Wednesday night was our 8th grade orientation with 400 parents entering that have children entering Chelmsford High School. We had our rehearsal for Mr. CHS with our DECA community. We had Friday night, Mr. Chelmsford High School. No, it was not George Simonian, although it should have been. But it's a wonderful celebration, and our boys, it's just an amazing talent and exhibit of spirit for Chelmsford High School. The last question that was asked to these young men for the 5 finalists is, what do they remember? What was the most important thing to them? And it was all about what Chelmsford High School meant to them. Now, it may take 4 years for them to realize we're a wonderful institution and that the administrators are not all that bad. But when they leave Chelmsford High School, as many of you know, we all come back and we are family. So with that kind of spirit, it is nice to hear them say, as seniors, Chelmsford High School is a great institution. And as we speak now, we're waiting to hear from our theater guild to see if they are finalists in our theater production and competition play. They are? Oh, congratulations. Oh. parents who were former students who now I have their children, so I am old, and that's the way it is, but I'm here and I'm happy. But that's very exciting. To see our students perform, and you have to go see Hello Dolly because it's just magnificent, the talents that we have. Year after year, our students are just phenomenal. But that's what Chelmsford High is all about. So I want to say thank you for supporting George and the Alumni Association and giving this an opportunity to recognize the talented graduates that we have. And I want to say thank you to our staff for doing so much to make Chelmsford a great place for all of our students and a place where I'm humbled to be among all of these inductees and all of you out there. But you've given me an opportunity to be a leader, even though I still haven't quite finished the year. It's been challenging, but very exciting and never, ever dull. But I hope that I represent Chelmsford in a strong way and that we continue the great programs, and all the great people that are out there are very proud of what I do. So thank you very much. Congratulations, and thank you, George, for being George Simonian. Thank you.
Oops. Moving on. I'm well scripted here. Now I'd like to take a moment and introduce members of our Hall of Fame that are here this evening, and I would like to thank them for coming and being a part of this great night. Some of them have come from great distance, from Florida, North Carolina, Virginia, Texas. So when I call your name, would you please stand and remain standing until I have finished calling all of you? And please hold your applause until I have all of them standing. Hank Brown, class of 1963. Where is he, Hank? Oh, there he is. Good. George Dixon, Jr., representing his late father, George Dixon, class of 1934. Millie Hare, class of 1936. John Souza, representing his late grandfather, Everett Olson, class of 1935. Judy Olson, representing her late husband, Carl Olson, class of 1963. George, oops, that's me. Wendell Luke, Jr., class of 1955. Dennis McHugh, class of 1966. Bruce McMaster, class of 1963. Roger Dean, class of 1967. Bob Parasol, class of 1964. Mary McCarthy St. Hilaire, class of 1956. Roger Sullivan, class of 1958. Donald Boucher, Dean Emeritus, Dickinson House. Jim O'Shaughnessy, class of 1963. Ed Quinn, Dean Emeritus, Emerson House. Bob Smith, class of 1950. Jack Conrad, Dean Emeritus, Whittier House. Cheryl Dumont, class of 1976. Lucy Ann Simonian, class of 1982. Angie Taranto, Dean Emeritus, Hawthorne House. Kathy Chu Howe, class of 1965. Dennis Hunt, class of 1964. Bill Cohane, class of 1974, and President Emeritus of the Alumni Association. Everett Bill Olson, class of 1966. Brad Perham, class of 1962. Bruce Rich, who he couldn't make it, class of 1973. John Harrington, class of 1964. Lynn Mercia Marcella, class of 1973. Mark Mabry, class of 1982. Rich Malloy, class of 1964. Rebecca Warren, class of 1979. Jack Fletcher, class of 1968. Bob Gagnon, class of 1958. Jack Judge, class of 1970. Ed Purcell, class of 1956. Dennis Reddy, class of 1960. Tom Curran, class of 1978. Peter Hanses, class of 1969. Fred Crow, class of 1953. Bob Mackey, class of 63. Laura Flannery Mason, class of 1962. Frank Monette, class of 58. Amy Provincial McGuigan, class of 1981. Ann O'Sullivan O'Brien, class of 1971. David Hedison, class of 1988. Lynn Marshall McSeehey, class of 1964. Randy Whitehead, teacher coach. Sheila Anderson Kirschbaum, class of 1972. Kirk Simonian, class of 1985. Michael Tate, teacher. Barbara Kimball Mackey, class of 1963. Nancy Williams, class of teacher coach. Nancy, where's Nancy? And now for your round of applause. I'm good.
George made one omission. George Simonian, Principal Emeritus, Chelmsford High School.
And now I would like to thank two organizations and two individuals that the Alumni Association has honored with the Lucy E. Simonian Golden Lion Award for being here tonight and for their continued support of the students at Chelmsford High School and their continued support of our Hall of Fame induction dinners. The Boosters Club, where's the Boosters Club? Right over here. Stand, folks. That's okay. The Rotary Club. Come on, stand. All right. Okay. Oh, they are, okay. Harry Ayotte and Carol Cleven. Carol's here. I don't know where Carol is. She's here. And now to induct, with great pride and pleasure, the honor of introducing the members of the class of 2010 of the Chelmsford High School Alumni Association Hall of Fame. Before I start, I want you to know that if I was to list all the accomplishments of these 9 individuals, we'd be here until tomorrow sometime. And we're already losing in an hour, and so I'm not going to do that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to capsulize it as best I can to give you some idea of what these folks have done in their lifetimes. Give me 1 minute, and let me get started with that. Yeah, come on. There we go. Bruce Costa, class of 1975. Chelmsford High School, member of the Science Club all 3 years. He participated in Science Club field trips. All of his 3 years were trips to Arcadia National Park, Washington, D.C., and Shenandoah National Park. College career. Graduated from the University of Massachusetts Amherst with a Bachelor of Science degree in Industrial Engineering, Operations Research, magna cum laude in 1979. He is a member of the student chapter of the American Institute of Industrial Engineers. He was the vice president of that group his sophomore year and president his junior year. Inducted into the Alpha Pi Mu Industrial Engineering Honor Society and the Tau Beta Pi Massachusetts Zeta Engineering Honor Society while student. Graduated from Florida State University with a PhD in Business Administration in 2000 with an emphasis in finance. His professional career. From 1979 to 1981, he worked for Teradyne Incorporated in Boston as a manufacturing engineer. From 1981 to 1994, active duty with the United States Navy, flying more than 2,600 hours in over 20 different aircraft and spending more than 3.5 years at sea on various Navy vessels. Excuse me. Graduated in August 1991 from Aviation Officer Candidate School. Received his Wings of Gold and was designated a naval aviator on December 17, 1982, the 79th anniversary of the Wright brothers' historic first flight. He flew SH-3s out of North Island, California from August of 1983 to March of 1986. This very successful tour included multiple deployments to the Indian Ocean and was highlighted by a night rescue of an A-7 pilot who had been forced to eject from his aircraft. He received multiple awards for this daring evolution. In 1986, he reported to the Naval Test Pilot School in Patuxent River, Maryland. In June of 1987, he completed a very demanding program and began serving as the lead engineering test pilot on a number of classified and unclassified projects. From February of 1990 to December of 1991, he served as the assistant navigator on board the aircraft carrier Saratoga. He deployed with the Saratoga for 8 months, conducting flight operations in support of Operations Desert Shield, and Desert Storm. In September of 1992, he reported to HS5 in Jacksonville, Florida, completing a department head tour. During his tour, he returned to flying the SH-3 while serving in the vital roles as the admin officer and maintenance officer. After 12 years of dedicated and highly successful service to the United States Navy, he made the difficult decision to leave active duty in order to pursue another path in life. His naval awards include 3 Navy Commendation Medals, Kuwait Liberation Medal, Meritorious Unit Citation, and the Sea Service Ribbon. From August of 2000 to the present time, University of Montana in Missoula, Montana, he's Associate Professor of Finance. He teaches courses in corporate finance at both the undergraduate and graduate levels. Also teaches a course in personal finance and investments. Awards and honors. University of Massachusetts, in 1988, the 125th anniversary of the university, he was one of 125 alumni selected as alumni to watch for his professional accomplishments and his civic contribution. University of Montana voted outstanding finance faculty by the students in 2002 and in 2008. His community involvement, United States Soccer Federation Grade 8 referee from 2001 to 2006, Missoula Strikers Soccer Association board member 2005 to present time, and treasurer 2006 to the present. His family includes 3 children, 2 daughters, Corey and Lauren, son Tyler, granddaughter Integrity. 2 brothers, David, CHS class of 76, and Phil, CHS class of 81. 1 sister, Amy, CHS class of 1983. With a great deal of pleasure, I want to introduce to you Bruce Costa. Bruce?
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Simonian, and thank you all for coming tonight. I'd like to thank my family, my friends, their family and friends for all being here, and all of you for sharing this opportunity to be with us tonight for this inductee. After hearing that, I'm not sure who this guy is that's standing up here right now. But I'd like to just quickly, for those who were there back in June 7th, 1975, take you back to our graduation, because it was on my last, very, very last high school lecture that I heard something that made a difference in the rest of my life. And for those of us who were there, a few over on that table, Satch Sanders, who was a Boston Celtic great, and at that time Harvard coach, was there for our guest speaker. And honestly, I can't remember what he said. I'm sure he said something about going on and doing better and improving your life and those around us. And he did a very good speech, but frankly, I don't really remember much else that he said. But there was one other speaker that day, and he happened to be a father of one of our classmates. He was the chairman of the school committee, and his name was George Ripson. And George also spoke that night, and one of the things he said, and I'll always remember it, is, "I challenge you to fail." And I frankly was probably sitting there. It was at the old high school, which, you know, it's 35 years ago now. I got to reflect on that. But we were actually over at McCarthy, and we had our graduation that there. And I looked up, and I thought, "I challenge you to fail?" Nobody had ever said that to me, ever. I mean, they had challenged me to get A's. They had challenged me to succeed. But nobody asked me to go fail. So I had to start thinking about, what did he mean by that? So I actually listened to my very last high school lecture, which actually kind of surprised me. I was going to learn something that day, June 7th. And I did. And I kind of put it back in my mind, and I started thinking about that. I'm not sure I really had an answer that day, but that phrase has stuck with me. I went on, I went to UMass, I got my degree in engineering. I did quite well by most measures that you can judge somebody's academic accomplishments there. And I went to work for Teradyne. It was a great opportunity to learn and grow, and I had a lot of fun working there. We did a lot of good things. But after about being there for a year, I decided there was something else that I really needed to go do. And I always had this passion to go fly. And I had never really done it before, and I wanted to go do something. I really wanted to find out what I could do for myself and how far I could push myself. So I went off. I went to Aviation Officer Candidate School in Pensacola, Florida. I got my wings of gold, and I went on to learn how to fly helicopters. And it was a great opportunity. I really wanted to go do that. I can remember flying. I can remember going skiing up a Cannon Mountain before I went off and watching this helicopter film basically 30 feet above us, all the people going down the slope, and said, someday I'm going to do that. Well, I've flown the helicopters, but I haven't done the ski film yet. But maybe someday somebody's going to be an opportunity to go do that. One of the things we had to learn when we were learning how to be a helicopter pilot is basically how to auto-rotate a helicopter. And if you don't know what that is, helicopters don't really glide, okay? They want to fall out of the sky basically when the engine stops. And auto-rotation is basically how you land a helicopter very safely. And it's a maneuver you have to learn if you're going to fly helicopters. And since we were flying in some rather difficult terrain and over different circumstances, we had to be able to go learn how to do this. So it was always impressed upon us to do it well, and we practiced it, and we practiced it, and we practiced it. And I finally got it right one day, and I really want to thank my on-wing for actually getting that instruction and so I could go do it. I went on, because of the flying skills they imparted on me, the night rescue that he talked about, it was not an easy thing to go do off the coast of the Philippines one night. It was November, it was dark, it was raining, nothing was going right that night. The gentleman had to eject, his engine was coming apart, but we were able to go do it. And because of our training, we were able to go do that. And so I was getting to find out what it was like to actually go push myself to do things that other people hadn't always done, and to find my own limits. After that tour, I went on and I went to the Naval Test Pilot School at Patuxent River, Maryland, and we had to go back to learn how to do auto rotations. Only we got to do them in ways that most pilots don't ever get to do them, or at least find out how you do them. And one of the maneuvers that I will always remember, I can remember it the first time I read the maneuver description, is you pull into a hover at 500 feet, okay, you're steady there, you're nice and stable hover, and then we're going to protect just cutting off the engine at a 500-foot hover. Okay, and since you know that you're going to do it, before you can initiate the maneuver and actually do the recovery, you must pause, counting 1001, 1002. And while you're doing that, the helicopter starts to yaw off to the right, and it's already gone at least 45 degrees from what your heading is before you initiate the recovery by lowering the helicopter, lowering the collective, basically pointing the nose of the helicopter straight down so you can build up some airspeed, coming down, gaining airspeed about 75 feet, you yank the nose back up, you let it settle down to about 15 feet, rock the thing over, pull the collective, and hopefully that last 5 feet is the nicest, smoothest landing that you've ever made. Okay? I can remember that maneuver because the first time I did it, my stomach was up here. And I knew I was going to go find out something, what I could do, and if I was going to go fail and go do this. But I didn't, and I never failed at doing it. And we were actually getting very good at doing those things. I was starting to learn what failure was about. And it really wasn't about failing, it was about learning. Okay? It was about expanding personal envelopes. Just the way we expanded the envelope of an aircraft when we went off to test it, I was learning that failure wasn't really about failing, it was about learning. From there, I went on, we went off to the USS Saratoga, I was involved in Operation Desert Storm, and I got to see a lot of my friends go off, and we were pushing envelopes there that day too. After making some decisions about what I wanted to do the rest of my life, I had a daughter that I came back, the first time I saw her was 2.5 months old, she's here tonight with me and my family. I decided I really need to go do something else. And so not really knowing what I do, I went back to school because that's where you learn. Okay, that's how you find out what you can do and get new education. So I went back to school, started getting an MBA, and actually liked finance. So I asked my professor, how do I get your job? And he said, well, you apply to Florida State. I thought being a Seminole was being better than a Gator. So I went off and went to Tallahassee and I earned my degree. Okay? Since 2000, I've had the opportunity to teach and to learn, okay? And I've had a great time. But I've also had the opportunity to fail every single day. And notice I didn't say succeed. I had an opportunity to fail, okay? And what I want to do with my students is actually find out how I can push myself and how I can push them so that they can succeed and find out what their boundaries are, okay? As we do that, as I do it every day, I think it's very important for us, all of us who are educators, to push our students so that they can find out what their limits are. Okay? And as we do that, we are able to allow them to grow to their fullest potential. If someone hadn't done that and pushed me, and you hadn't prepared me here when I was going to high school here, I never would have had the opportunity to go do that. So I thank you all, especially those who had the opportunity to go do that and be part of that. Okay? If I could leave you with one thing, I would like to leave you with this. Okay? That failure is not a label. It's a data point. Okay? Don't let a single incident determine the rest of your life. Go out and make the best that you can. Thank you.
Michael Doc Economakos, athletic trainer. High school, graduated from Watertown High School, class of 1964, where he's a member of the varsity football team, member of the varsity basketball team, member of the varsity baseball team, president of the student council, athlete of the year his senior year. College career, graduated from the University of Massachusetts at Amherst in 1972 with a Bachelor of Science degree in education, with a major in physical education and health, with a concentration in adaptive physical education, cum laude. Participated in a co-op program at the Belchertown State School in the sensory motor training department. Professional career, 1966 to 1969, United States Army. Graduated from Physical Therapy Training School at Fort Sam Houston in San Antonio, Texas. Achieved the rank of Specialist 5th Class while working as a physical therapy technician at the Walter Reed Medical Center. He's telling me that one of his famous patients was Margaret Chase Smith, the former senator from Maine. From 1972 to 2005, the Chelmsford Public Schools. Elementary physical education teacher at the South Row School. And the athletic trainer at Chelmsford High School all those years. He brought with him a sense of professionalism and a personality that few could match. He worked tirelessly caring for all Chelmsford High School athletes. As the athletic program grew, and it did, so did the athletic training department. He established a high school student athletic trainer program for CHS students, the first of its kind in the Merrimack Valley, probably in the state. This program became a springboard for countless students to go on to become successful members of the healthcare profession, such as nurses, EMTs, paramedics, athletic trainers, physical therapists, and doctors. He was a mentor and cooperating teacher for physical education student teachers as well as student athletic trainers from Northeastern University throughout his career in Chelmsford. His professional associations, he's a member of the Massachusetts Association for Health, Physical Education, Recreation, and Dance, a member of the Athletic Trainers of Massachusetts, a member of the Eastern Athletic Trainers Association, and a member of the National Athletic Trainers Association. He taught CPR for the Chelmsford Recreation Commission for several years. Honors. The All Sports Boosters Club of Chelmsford High School recognized him for his outstanding dedication to the athletes of CHS with their very first Distinguished Service Award. His family includes his wife, Patricia, and sons, Christopher and Stephen. As the principal of Chelmsford High School many years ago, one of my comfort zones was knowing that the health and well-being of our hundreds of athletes were in the hands of Doc Economakos. Doc.
First thing I'd like to say is I was hoping that somebody who led off before me wouldn't have such a large resume. But I'd like to start off by thanking a few people, very many people actually. I'd like to start off with Bob Pariseau, who nominated me. Bob coached with us for many years. He's a good friend. Mr. Simonian and the selection committee for making a wise decision. And to have me here on this wonderful night and to be honored as such. Over the years, I've had a great deal of support from many sources involved with the athletic department, starting with the athletic director's position. My first athletic director was Tommy Eck many years ago, 1972, and I thank Tommy for having the confidence in hiring me. Nate Todaro came next. I remember Nate most for helping us enlarge the trainer's room to make it much more manageable as far as athletes coming in and out. There are days that we would service up to 60 kids coming through the door in a matter of an hour and 15, hour and a half. Nate also helped establish an assistant trainer's position, which helped out immensely in covering games all over the place. Randy Whitehead followed. Randy was very supportive of our student trainer program. and very supportive of the training room in particular. Jack Fletcher was my last athletic director, and he's still here. And Jack helped find different ways to help finance things in the trainer's room. If we'd have equipment that broke down, he would find different ways to get resources, whether it was from the Boosters Club, whether it was from the budget for athletics, or whether it was putting in an ice cream machine, which the athletic training room got profits from. He's a very resourceful gentleman. I also thank Jack for his friendship, and I thank him for the comic relief that he gave during the day, which we all need at times. The CHSAA All Sports Boosters Club, I can't say enough about them. They come in, they work the Boosters Club stand, they do 1,000 things in the background that nobody ever knows about, but they support the kids in so many different ways. And I don't think I've noticed that in very many other places. And it is an all-sports Boosters Club, which you don't really find in a lot of school systems. Another group I'd like to thank would be all the principals I've had during the years. I started off with Jack Conrad's dad, John Conrad. Didn't get to know him very well because he was only there 1 year, first year I came in the door. But Jack, I talked to him a few times at basketball games after that, and he was a true gentleman. George Simonian, what can I say about Mr. Simonian? See him at all the athletic events. Very supportive of the athletic training program. He actually helped us purchase our first electric stim ultrasound machine and a few other pieces of equipment that we couldn't have gotten any other way, but he figured out a way. Mr. Betsis, unfortunately Mr. Betsis has passed on, but he was also a gentleman. Herb Levine, Steve Meidell. Steve not only supported the athletic department, he also gave us a student trainer, Erica Meidell. And finally, Al Thomas. Al Thomas is a good friend. Right now he's floating around somewhere on a cruise ship. He sent me a card and he sent his best wishes. And hopefully he doesn't get stranded someplace. CHS has a good fortune of having a good group of physicians with us since the first day I walked in the door. Dr. Vern Strobel was my first physician here. He was with us probably for my first 4 or 5 years. Dr. Strobel was a real gentleman, and he had no hesitation in accepting our athletes when I asked him to take a look at them. Merrimack Valley Orthopedics has been with us for ages now. The first 2 gentlemen I had experience with were George Yared, who has passed on, and Dr. Benoit. I think probably most of you know Dr. Benoit. I would call Dr. Benoit up at 7, 8, 9 o'clock at night and say, look, I've got an athlete for you. Can you take a look at him tomorrow? And there would be no problem. Sometimes he'd even say, send him over to the hospital. I'll be there at a certain time. I'll take a look at him. Dr. Johnson and his group have taken over for Dr. Benoit. And talking with Dr. Johnson at some of the football sidelines, he's still carrying on the tradition. My assistant trainers over the years, Dan Reed, Amy Provenzano, Kerry Roller, Pete Carciola, all very capable people, all great people, all very personable, and I trust my kids with them and with them. I was blessed to have dozens of student trainers. The student trainers, the enthusiasm, the intelligence, the school spirit. They're wonderful kids, and I look back now, and some of them will come back once in a while or have come back once in a while, and you say, okay, what are you doing now? And say, I'm a nurse. I'm a physical therapist. I ask what another student trainer is doing. They're a physician now. And then you'll come up with the curator of museum. I said, whoa. Didn't see that one coming. Let's see. Now, I wasn't going to write this down, and my wife gave me a lecture about making sure I wrote my notes down. She's a professor in nursing, or was. She just retired. And she said, look, I give 2- and 3-hour lectures, and I wouldn't I wouldn't step up without my notes, so you write your notes down. Okay. Last person I'd like to thank is my wife. Okay. My wife is a professor in nursing, or has been a professor in nursing for many years. She's been a mother for many years now, more years than we care to imagine. And all I'd like to say is you're beautiful, you're intelligent, and you're my sunshine. Through 33 years as the athletic trainer at CHS, it's become my second home. And the coaches have become my brothers and sisters. As I watch these guys and these ladies work, I say to myself, whoa, there's an awful lot of hours there, an awful lot of effort, and a lot of times some people don't appreciate it enough. They don't understand the turmoil that goes on when they sit down and they have to make their final cuts. I've seen coaches sit down in basketball for 3 or 4 hours just discussing the last 2 athletes on their list. And it tears them apart to cut one of those kids. But it's something that had to be done. I've learned my work ethic from my parents, but I've also learned it from the coaches that I've worked with. I've learned it from the Jack Fletchers, the Jack Langs, the Moore Devaney's, the Joe Nartons, the Bruce Riches, from the whole crew. Okay, to watch the hours that they put in and the effort that they put in and the amount of work and the patience they show, sometimes, it's a good lesson for everyone. And I felt that if I didn't put the same kind of effort in, that I wasn't living up to what I had to do. In conclusion, I'd like to say that if anybody had asked me now, if you could go back 37 years and have another choice, I did have a choice at the time. I could have gone back to military hospital, and I could have worked as a therapist there. And Chelmsford offered me a job. And I have no doubt that my decision would be exactly the same. Okay? Chelmsford's a wonderful place to work. It's a wonderful group of people that work there. The kids are great. And I just love my whole background. Okay? Thank you.
Donna Upton Foley, class of 1970. Chelmsford High School, member of the Pep Club her junior and senior years, member of the Gymnastics Club for 3 years, played powder puff football junior and senior years, member of the prom committee her senior year, college career, graduated from Lowell State College with a Bachelor of Science degree in mathematics with a minor in education, cum laude in 1974. Graduated from University of Lowell with a Master of Science degree in mathematics in 1980. She was inducted into the Phi Mu Epsilon Honor Society. Additional coursework and seminars, just to name a few: computer applications, attention to deficit disorder, outcomes-based education, making middle schools meaningful, math for struggling learners. Her professional career, from 1974 to the present time, Chelmsford Public Schools. From 74 to 81 at the Parker Junior High School, math teacher for grades 7 through 9, math league coach, freshman basketball coach, freshman softball coach. From 81 to 91 at Chelmsford High School as a math teacher. She was advisor to the class of 91, participant in 3 faculty plays, contest manager for CHS Athletics. From 91 to 2005, McCarthy and Parker Middle Schools, math teacher, mathematics department head for middle schools, Continental Math League advisor, Parker School yearbook advisor, contest manager for CHS Athletics. In 1997, assumed the position of mathematics curriculum specialist, grades K through 8. From 2005 to the present time, K through 12 mathematics coordinator. Chelmsford Public Schools Administrative Council, Continental Math League advisor. He's a mentor to 2 department heads, curriculum coordinators. Contest manager for CH Athletics, continues to do that. From 2005 to the present time, Chelmsford coordinator and lead contact person for the Teams Academy. University of Massachusetts Lowell and the local public schools received a grant and formed an academy to allow accelerated students to take college courses at no cost to the students. She was the lead in that. In the 1980s, mathematics instructor at Daniel Webster College and the University of Lowell. Committees and projects, just to name a few. From 1993 to present, member of the elementary, middle, and high school curriculum councils. 1998 to 2002, teacher training for Massachusetts Department of Ed, leading full-day workshops around the state for teachers. 2000 to 2004, editor for Houghton Mifflin Middle School mathematics textbooks. Awards and honors, there are many, but one that stands out. Invited to speak at a symposium at Harvard University for superintendents and assistant superintendents regarding helping students communicate mathematically. There's civic and community involvement, just to name a few. Tingsboro Boosters Club, Lowell General Hospital Cancer Walk, Women's Cities Golf Tournament Committee, help with, and plays the golf with them, help with fundraising efforts and build community soccer fields, coached under-8 youth soccer, Women's City Scholarship Committee, CHS Class of 1970 reunion committees from 75 to the present time. Member of the Chelmsford High School Alumni Association. Family, father and mother, Donald and Dorothy. Mother, CHS Class of 1947, was the class secretary and the class valedictorian. Husband Gerald, 2 sons Jarrett and Todd, 1 new daughter-in-law, Christine. Great deal of pleasure to introduce to you Donna Foley. Donna?
Boy, you never think you've done that much. Anyway, how appropriate is that we're here tonight on Pi Day Eve. For those of you who know, okay, the math community celebrates Pi Day tomorrow, and I'm going to ask for a little audience participation here, because we know that pi is the ratio of the math people circumference to the diameter of a circle. Best decimal approximation is 3.14, ergo tomorrow, 14159. George knows that. Okay, so tomorrow we have a big celebration on Pi Day. Students all enjoy some circular treats. Now, I'm both humbled and honored to accept this award. Last night, as Ann said, we hosted the Mr. CHS competition. And if it was the CHS alumni competition, we know that George Simonian would be the hands-down winner. George was kind enough to nominate me for this honor, and I certainly thank him and the committee for the honor, and I congratulate all of the other nominees. Chelmsford Public Schools have been a part of my life for 48 years, which represents 84.2% of my life. Now, for those of you who want to know how old is she, you're going to set up an equation, you're going to solve it, and please be kind and round down. Here we go. In my years here, I've had the opportunity to teach thousands of students. I've had the opportunity to work with some amazing administrators, some very talented and terrific teachers, and some superior support staff. I'm most proud of the mathematics program in Chelmsford and all the folks that continue to make it exceptional. The excellent elementary teachers that have gone through the transition of teaching arithmetic to teaching mathematics. The magnificent middle school teachers who mold young adolescents and guide them through some challenging concepts. And the harmonic and heroic high school teachers who demonstrate daily what working as a team is all about. 2 of my former A students now teach at Chelmsford High School, Scott Robillard and Leah Dinnigan Gaffney, members of the mathematics team. And also we are very nicely represented by the rest of the high school math department here. Our Rebecca, our unofficial school mom mentor to the math folks. Scott, Leah, Mike, Jen, Danielle, Erin, Karen, Jack. I can't thank you enough for all the support here tonight and through throughout our career. These are some of the folks that make me love my job. I want to give a sincere thanks to my two marvelous math coaches, Ann Swisman, who's with us here tonight, and Marcia Kelly. They are truly dedicated professionals, and they're so valued and so appreciated. Now, I hope that the English folks have been paying attention to the alliteration that I've tried here, because we all know we're working to be interdisciplinary in the math community. Sometimes people accuse us of being singularly focused. Many of you may see me moonlighting at CHS athletic events, as George said. Now, I do that with the always amusing, affable athletic director, Jack Fletcher, and many caring, colorful, committed coaches. For example, Mike O'Keefe. Mike, okay, some maybe think should be committed, but not my family. Mike was the coach of my nephew, Mike Upton, so we truly know how dedicated he is to his teams. He's one example of the coaches here that truly do an outstanding job with our student athletes. So, when I do these athletic events, I get a new perspective of the students. I get to see them at a different venue, and I get to socialize a bit. Some people say I'm very good at socializing. And I am. Athletics, not so much. Now, I need to speak to the student-athlete part that George spoke about here. I'm surrounded by many superior athletes. My husband, Jerry, track star, both of my sons, 3 sport athletes, my sister, Deb, who pitched, played baseball, okay? My brother, Dave, who will tell you within the first 15 minutes of talking to him that he went 2 for 4 against Tom Glavine, a future Hall of Famer, when he played Chelmsford Billerica. He won't mention that Tom was a freshman and he was a senior. Now, one would think through osmosis, which Dennis Hunt taught me about, the science guy over there, when we worked at McCarthy together, that I would be a successful athlete. Well, I could do cartwheels and handsprings in the day, not so much now. Now you're going to find me on the links. Yep, the golf links. I'm an avid golfer and have gotten to play in the ladies' cities all 10 years. I will say it's very important that my arithmetic skills are good because it takes me quite a while to add up those scores at the end of the day. Well, one true golf story. Both my son, Jarrett, my husband, Jerry, my brother Dennis, my mother and I all did get a hole-in-one. And it was not the windmill. We got a hole-in-one on the same hole at Mount Pleasant. Okay, my son Jarrett at 8 years old, and my mom in her 70s. Now, Dad's come close many times as he's been a member for 58 years, and we're still not giving up on that. My son Todd came within 2 inches last year, so this year we're hoping that he, my dad, Todd, my brother Dave, or Don will get that because we know we'd be written up in Golf Digest if that happens. I've also had the opportunity to coach, many athletes and mathletes. 2 of the best are here tonight, Michelle Altabello-Sloan and Mark Maybury. You guys made it wonderful and lots of fun. Now for the history, because again, we're getting into disciplinary here. I do enjoy serving on the class of 1970 reunion committee with our Wendy Marshall-Hudzik, who is the lifeline of the class of 1970. We had an awesome class advisor, Bernie Battle, and they say as things go around, they come around, and I was slightly coerced, by Ed Quinn to take on the class of 1991. Great class, I had some great experiences with those students, still have lots of connections, and 2 of the students actually are now administrators in the Chelmsford schools, Jeff Parks and Josh Blagg. So evidently we gave them some good advice back then. Love them. Getting close to the end. Here we go. I want to thank my dear, fabulous friends for coming here tonight. The greatest compliment that I can pay to them is that they're like family to me. My family, special thanks to them, Mom and Dad, as George mentioned, Mom a CHS graduate of 47, raised 5 children to have strong work ethics, family values, and understand the importance of having a good time. My siblings, Debbie, Donnie, Dennis, David. Okay, as you can see, 7 Ds. We started out with alliteration in our family. We got Donald, Debbie, Donnie, Dennis, David, Dot, and Don. There you go. Their spouses that we have, John, Carolyn, Laura, and the whole Foley clan that truly enjoy life and have a great time together. Our children, Jarrett and Todd, make us so proud every day as they've developed the same core values that our parents instilled in Jerry and me. And I think it is right, Jerry and me, right? Not Jerry and I? There we go. Okay, my son Jarrett and my new lovely daughter Christine will be adding a new member to our family in September, and Jerry and I couldn't be any happier or more excited than this new role as grandparents. My son Todd works for a former student of mine, Bob Brown. Now, Bob told him that I was one of his favorite teachers. He really did. I didn't tell Todd that. Bobby tells him that, so I know it will make work a whole lot more enjoyable. Articulate, courteous, diplomatic, good-natured, imaginative, talented, supportive are some of the adjectives that describe my husband of 36 years, Jerry. Thanks for still making me smile every day. Great job, great community, great friends, great family. To quote the business department boys, what could be better than this? Thank you.
Kathleen Zemaitis Lamarre, class of 1974. At Chelmsford High School, member of the varsity field hockey team, junior and senior years, goalie his senior year, and then scored upon while playing in goal. Conference All-Star her senior year. Member of the varsity girls basketball team, junior and senior years, Conference All-Star her senior year. Member of the softball team, sophomore, junior, and senior years, co-captain her senior year, Conference All-Star, junior and senior years. Member of the student council, member of the drama club, member of the newspaper staff, participated in the talent show, played in the Powder Puff football game, awarded the Academic Achievement Awards in Industrial Arts. College career. Graduated from Plymouth State College with a Bachelor of Science degree in Physical Education and Health with a minor in Athletic Training and Special Education in 1980. Member of the varsity basketball and softball teams for freshman and sophomore years. Junior and senior years were spent as a volunteer athletic trainer with the athletic department. All of her other free time was spent as a volunteer in the community teaching physical education in small rural elementary schools that could not fund physical education, and developed softball and baseball teams in towns surrounding Plymouth, New Hampshire. Awarded the Outstanding Graduate for Community Service her senior year at Plymouth. Graduated from Riviera College with a master's degree in special education in 2004. Her professional career. From 1980 to 1987, the Westford Public Schools, elementary physical education teacher. She coached varsity field hockey, basketball, and softball at Westford Academy. In 1987, while teaching a course called Project Adventure to a group of freshmen at Westford Academy, she was on a ladder hooking up a safety line 25 feet up when a gust of wind toppled her to the ground, shattering both legs from the knees down. After numerous operations and rehab and learning how to walk again, it was back to her profession, started by working as a teacher's aide and special needs tutor. From 2004 to the present time, she's a special ed teacher in the Neshoba Valley Technical High School. She also assists at sporting events and other extracurricular activities. Her civic and community involvement, just to name a few. Taught CCD and helped with fundraising at St. Mary's Church. 12 years of service with the Girl Scouts of America. Merit Badge Counselor with the Boy Scouts of America. Parent and faculty representative on the school council at Neshoba Tech. Served as corresponding secretary for the Long Sought For Pond Association for 4 years. She's a member of the Chelmsford High School Alumni Association. Her family includes her father and mother, John and Barbara. Her mother, Barbara, was a member of this class of CHS class of 1948. She has a daughter, Kristen, and a son, Keith. What a pleasure for me to introduce to you Kathy Zemaitis Lamarre.
Thank you. It's quite an honor to receive the telephone call from George Simonian letting you know that you are being inducted into the Chelmsford High School Hall of Fame. When I think back of all the people who've helped influence me in my life, there is a lot. That little girl who always heard, "Sit down, slow down. Do you have ants in your pants? You tire me out watching you." Yes, that was me. The poor person whom I really have to thank is my mother, Barbara. She cannot be with us here tonight, but she's always in my thoughts. I love you, Mom, and thank you. She was the one who got me involved in sports. Being one of the younger children, I always had to go along with an older brother or sister to practices or activities. And when a coach or somebody would say, let her play, boy, was I full of smiles. It was like I won the megabucks. Of course, I'm not sure my brother or sister were always happy having me tag along with them and being able to play. Thank you, Jack. Thank you, Cheryl. By the time I got to junior high, now I'm showing my age, it's called middle school, girls could only play field hockey, basketball, and softball. But we played as hard as we could. We just loved the sport, and we loved the chance to compete. Miss Chisholm was one of my first middle school coaches, and she always pushed us a little harder, be a little better, and play a little stronger. In high school, we competed in the same 3 sports. Miss Heineck was the coach who made you always want to play harder, always be a little better, and each day be better, stronger, and of course, just to win. Of course, it was always nice to see those familiar faces at the games, such as George, Dick Bernia, Barry Bell, Ed Quinn. Thank you for coming and supporting girls' athletics. It meant a lot to us, and we appreciated you being there. After high school, I continued on at Plymouth State College. It's now Plymouth State University, and I played basketball. After graduation, I took on a new role of teaching, and I decided to coach. I coached for many years at Westford Academy, and I coached field hockey, basketball, and softball. I was able to have the thrill of bringing quite a few teams to state tournaments. That's a great feeling. But I have to say my all-time favorite teams to coach were my children. Some season I coached both Kristen's softball and Keith's baseball, as well as both soccer teams at the same time. Talk about being busy and feeling like a yo-yo, but I would have never traded it. Then it was time for my own 2 children to compete in high school sports. I never missed a game, loving every minute of it. I was that parent now that was on the sidelines with the camera, taking as many pictures as I could. Kristen is in college now, and Keith will start his last high school sport of lacrosse. Then another chapter of sports will close for me. I am fortunate to be a special ed teacher at Neshoba Valley Technical High School. My friend Melissa, who I manage to drag along to many games, we attend as many games as possible. She's never been to that many sporting events. She didn't realize that there was that many sports. But I remember how important it was for me to see the teachers come to our games, and I want to reciprocate now. I know my students appreciate us being there. They ask me every day before the games, "Are you coming to the game?" And I wouldn't want to miss it for them. In the back of my mind, who knows, maybe I'll even start to coach again. Lastly, I want to thank Cheryl Dumont for the honor to stand here today. All the years we played sports together, all the laughs, and mostly for a lifetime of friendship, which I continue to treasure today. Thank you very much. This is quite an honor that I will enjoy for a long time. Thank you, George. Thank you.
Tommy, how we doing back there? I'm very pleased to be making this next presentation. Our Lucy E. Simonian Golden Lion Award this year is being given to Dr. Stuart Weisfeld. Doc, as he is affectionately known to the many high school athletes and coaches, has been an instrumental part of the CHS landscape since the early 70s, when he first began his association with CHS. He was requested by then Principal George Simonian to help establish a sexual health course for the girls of CHS. He, along with Dr. Bousquet, established a program which helped many teenage boys and girls understand their bodies and themselves. Next, Principal Simonian asked him to join the Parents Advisory Council, which Doc was again only too happy to do. He remained on this council until his kids graduated from Chelmsford High School. I will now jump ahead a little bit to save some time, as I could talk for hours about Doc's many contributions. However, I want to include his athletic contributions as well. I was going to begin with an anecdote, but Doc doesn't want me to steal it, so I won't. I will just say that Doc has been an assistant softball coach for the last 15 years. In those 15 years, he's helped bring them 6 league championships and a state championship in 1999. In Bruce's words, Doc has been a student of the game who brings valuable insights into the little things that can make a big difference between winning and losing. His laid-back style and unique sense of humor keeps everyone loose. However, his competitive spirit can appear when the game is on the line. Doc makes it a point to know each and every one of the girls and how best to motivate them. Again, to quote Bruce Rich, oftentimes when we need a boost, Doc can be seen making his angels in the outfield gesture while coaching first base. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my absolute pleasure to present to you this year's Lucy E. Simonian Golden Lion Award winner, Dr. Stuart Weisfeld.
Good evening. Thank you, Terry, for the nice introduction. Thank you, George, and the nominating committee for honoring me. I was sitting on my den in December, got this phone call from Mr. Simonian. He says, I want you to keep 2 things open for me, the 13th of March, and I want you to accept this Golden Lion Award. In my famous John McEnroe voice, I said, you cannot be serious. He was. And so I'm here. But I have to tell you, I was thrilled to be on George's PAC committee. We brought in, if any of you know of the post-prom breakfast, that was one of our wonderful things that we brought to school. And for the faculty, we brought in Teachers Appreciation Day. We also brought in driver's ed, but I don't know if that's still in the school. And as mentioned, in the late 60s and early 70s, Dr. Bousquet and I worked with the youth. We showed a movie from girl to woman, and he showed a movie man to boy, or boy to man, excuse me. Someday you're going to get old, George. And anyway. But anyway, this was the forerunner of the human sexuality courses in the school. Now, some parents were thrilled about it, and some parents were not too happy about it. But I think it's a wonderful thing. I also served on Dr. Moser's HIV/AIDS committee. We try to educate the students and the parents with regard to this. Now let me tell you my story, how I got involved with softball. I'll take you back to a beautiful April afternoon. I took a walk with my dogs and came upon a softball game at Rich Stadium. That's where the team plays. We have to use that term because the coach is attached to that name. But anyway, as I got to the game, we had a runner. Chelmsford High School had a runner on second base. There were 2 outs. The next batter hits a single to right center. Amazingly, our head coach at third base was frantically waving this runner around to home. Unfortunately, she was out by at least 2 feet. So as the good coach approached the dugout, this guy, who he had no clue who he was, says in a loud voice, "Hey, coach, what kind of play is this that you wave somebody in to get thrown out at home?" He looked over at me and said, "I have a rule for my critics. We practice tomorrow at 3 o'clock. Come out and show me your stuff." Well, 15 years ago, I showed up, and he hasn't been able to get rid of me. But the most remarkable thing happened on a summer evening in 1999. We won the state championship. And I have to tell you an interesting thing. When you work with Bruce, you're a silent partner. But we got to this game, and his little pep talk goes on, and all of a sudden he turns to me and says, "Doc, do you have something to say?" Well, not to be undone, I looked at the girls. I said, "Young ladies, I don't have much time. This game means a lot to me." That was the last time Coach Rich let me talk to the team. And I'll tell you one more interesting story. One November day, I was sitting at home and got a call from Don Benson, who was the head swimming coach. He had hired an assistant who was unable to fulfill his job. So he said to me, "Stu, I really am hard-pressed for an assistant. Could you help out?" I said, "Well, Don, I've never coached swimming. I have been certified as a stroke and turn judge, but I don't know if that'll help." He said, "It'll be fine. It's temporary." Well, I served that job for 2 years, and the interesting secret amongst us that the public didn't know, if you're into swimming, you realize if you win a state championship, they throw the coach into the pool. Well, the big fear was if they threw me into the pool, I could drown. So fortunately, we didn't win any championships. It took a couple of years before they won a state championship, and I'm proud to say that one of my babies was the head coach, Dave Scaplin, who I had the pleasure of delivering, brought a couple state championships to our high school. And with that, I'd like to thank the Alumni Association, Mr. Simonian, the Board of Directors. You do me a great honor. And as they said in one of the songs on Broadway, I did this all for love. Thank you.
For me to be asked to honor a charter member of our Alumni Association. She has served as a member of our board of directors for more than 20 years. She has assumed many tasks over those years. She is herself a member of the Hall of Fame. She was very gracious to me when I came on board as a committee member, and always provided very wise counsel and a great deal of common sense. We want to thank you for your many years of service in the past, now, and into the future. Please, a round of applause for Mary St. Hilaire.
Good job, Lee.
Thank you.
How are we doing for time? Not bad. Good. Margaret Marshall, class of 1972. At Chelmsford High School. Member of the National Honor Society, junior and senior years. Member of the concert choir. Member of the American Field Service Club, all 3 years. Hosted a Brazilian exchange student her junior year. Her college career. Graduated from the State University of New York in Binghamton with a Bachelor of Arts degree in English in 1975, completing her degree work in 3 years. Graduated from the University of Rhode Island with a master's degree in library science in 1976, completing her degree work in 9 months. Did her independent study at Brown University's many libraries. During her college days, she took organ lessons and served as a substitute organist at All Saints Episcopal Church and spent summers working at the Chelmsford Public Library. Her professional career, from 1976 to 1983, she was the first professional public library director in Pelham, New Hampshire, was a founding member and leader of a large public library cooperative that met monthly and worked together on many projects, introduced public access to computers into the public library. From 1983 to 1993, she was the public library director in Merrimack, New Hampshire. As the librarian, held many leadership positions in library consortiums and led the circulation automation project at the library in the mid-1980s. From 1985 to the present time, she's the Minister of Music at All Saints Episcopal Church in Chelmsford. She's responsible for all aspects of the music program, which includes the senior choir, 2 children's choirs, and a handbell choir. Plays the organ for all church services. From 2002 to the present time, she's also a substitute school librarian for the Chelmsford Public Schools. Her civic and community involvement is extensive. From 1996 to the present time, member of the Chelmsford Public Library Trustees, has been the chair several times, has been a member of the Town of Chelmsford Scholarship Fund Board, has been active in the Chernobyl Children's Project, hosting 2 children for 3 summers, and in 2005 hosted a Russian translator. She's a member of the Chelmsford High School Alumni Association. I mentioned her mother and father, Ed and Liz Marshall, which were very active in the community of Chelmsford. And you know the old saying, the apple doesn't fall too far from the tree. Her husband, Clem Cole. Daughter Leah, CHS class of 2011. Son Matthew, CHS class of 2014. I would now like to read a short note that to me typifies Margaret Marshall. She wrote, I feel that my education has been a means to an end. Throughout my academic career, I took my studies seriously but got good grades, but was intent on making my way into the real world. I feel that I have devoted my life to serving others and in trying to enhance the lives of as many as possible. This takes form in many ways, including instilling the love of reading in a child through the magic found in libraries, teaching young choristers to sing and watch many of them make music a focal point in their lives, feeding those less fortunate than I, and widening the scope of an elementary child's education by bringing special programs into the school. For my family and me, being host to our Chernobyl children has been a life-changing experience. It is a challenge to host someone from a completely different culture who does not speak your language. The pleasure derived from watching their awe in discovering so much that we take for granted, which can include basics like swimming in a pool, seeing the ocean, or even having indoor plumbing. We took one set of children to New York City, and seeing the Statue of Liberty for them was a dream come true. My husband has been so profoundly changed by this experience that he has traveled twice to Chernobyl region to see children that we have hosted previously, and to try to gain a greater understanding of the magnitude of the problem and what can be done to help. I have enjoyed serving the community in which I grew up and will continue to try to make the world a better place in whatever small ways I can. With a great deal of pleasure, I'd like to introduce to you Margaret Marshall.
Thank you. I'm a church musician and I'm up past my bedtime, but that's okay. I'd like to thank the Alumni Association for my induction into the Hall of Fame, and I'd also like to thank my family and friends for being here tonight. My biggest thanks needs to go to my parents, Ed and Liz Marshall, who were my two biggest fans, supporters, and mentors. As many of you know, my parents were active in the community on many levels, and one of my mother's favorite sayings was, "Democracy is not a spectator sport." Although I never intended to return to Chelmsford area after college, a career opportunity led me back, and I have never regretted this. My CHS years were enjoyable, and I was a very good student, but I will admit, and George alluded to this, that I was in a hurry to get on with my life. I had the incredibly good fortune to figure out what I wanted to do with my life in 7th grade, and I never wavered from that goal. My two best school role models were actually at the Parker Middle School, a brand new English teacher by the name of Patricia Apostolakis, who later morphed into Mrs. Mahoney, guidance counselor, and the school librarian, Betsy Bowl. I had Miss Apostolakis for English in grades 7, 8, and 9, since she loved our class and kept on moving up with us. I also volunteered in the school library with Mrs. Bowl, and later ended up working in her bookstore, the Chelmsford Bookstore, which is now where Dennis McHugh's law office is. I developed a love for English literature, so off I went to college with that as my major, and then grad school for a degree in library science. I was fortunate enough to have a summer job during my college years at the Chelmsford Public Library. Since I knew what I wanted to do, and since my college offered a 3-year program, I was able to do college and grad school and have both degrees by the time I was 21. My goal was to become a public library director, and I never thought I would be able to begin my career in that position, but I did. I was Pelham, New Hampshire's first professional library director, and was there and later Merrimack for 16 years. During that time, I introduced public access computers, the very first Apples, in Pelham, developed the first public library cooperative in New Hampshire, and later became one of the first in the state to automate their whole library. My husband and kids are probably snickering because their technological abilities have far surpassed mine. While pursuing my vocation as a library director, I was also keeping up with my avocation as a musician and took organ lessons all through college. I became the Minister of Music at All Saints in Chelmsford in 1985 and am still in that position. I left my library career in 1993 to raise my children and have used my time to volunteer in many capacities. One of my most rewarding activities has been my many years as a Chelmsford Public Library trustee. Before becoming a trustee, I was chair of the library's building campaign, and am very proud to say that after many years of struggle, we have a public library that is truly the jewel in Chelmsford's crown. My involvement in the Chernobyl Children Project, first as a host family and later as the Chelmsford leader, has been a life-changing experience. I was very involved in AFS at Chelmsford High, and my family hosted girls from Brazil and Germany. I knew that opening your home and hearts to someone for a year was a leap of faith, but had great rewards. My husband Clem and I took this leap of faith after having read a notice in our church bulletin asking for families to host children from the Chernobyl region for one summer month. We wanted our children, too, to see how much they have in comparison to others, as well as to give them an international experience without having to travel. We hosted 2 children for 3 consecutive summers, and were fortunate to host Sergei from Belarus, who was a repeat visitor for each of these summers. My family's lives changed overnight in April 2006, when Sergei came back as a poster child for the project, which was observing the 20th anniversary of the Chernobyl disaster. While here for a week-long visit, a medical exam revealed that his cancer had returned. The decision was made to keep him here for treatment, so overnight I became the mother of a child with cancer, and we hosted Sergei for 5 months, and his mom, who did not speak a word of English when she came, for 4 months. This time frame coincided with the decline and death of my dad, so our plates were very full. It took a true village to help us during this time, and after countless trips to floating hospital and eventual surgery, we are happy to say that Sergei is still alive and doing well. Although this was an extremely challenging time in our lives, the benefits far outweigh the negatives, and we have many wonderful memories to validate our having taken this spontaneous leap of faith. For me, it is truly better to give than to receive. I am happy to serve my church and the schools with my respective jobs as musician and librarian. I will continue to look for meaningful volunteer opportunities and know that taking small risks or giant leaps of faith are worth it. I am proud to be a Chelmsford High School graduate, a Chelmsford resident, and will continue to help guard what the sires have won. Thank you very much.
That's what this Hall of Fame is all about. Wendy Marshall-Ferner, class of 1985. Member of the Student Council all 4 years. Female Student of the Month her senior year. Member of the indoor and spring track teams all 4 years. Captain of the indoor and spring track teams junior and senior years. She was a sprinter. Undefeated 50-yard dash her freshman year. Undefeated in the 220-yard dash her senior year. Northern Area Champ in the 50-yard dash her freshman year. Northern Area Champ 220-yard dash sophomore and senior years. Division I Champion 220-yard dash sophomore and senior years. All-State Champion 220-yard dash her senior year. New England Champion in the 220 her senior year. Held the school records in the 50-yard dash, the 100, and the 300-yard. As a member of the 4x110 relay and the 4x220 relay. Her senior year, the team won the Indoor State Relays Championship. The team won the Northern Area Spring Track Championship. Her honors: Lowell Sun All-Star Indoor Track, freshman, sophomore, and senior years. Track Woman of the Year, senior year. Boston Globe All-Scholastic Track, sophomore and senior years. All-American Honorable Mention, her senior years. CHS Woman Athlete of the Year, her senior year. College career: graduated from University of Massachusetts, Amherst, with a Bachelor of Science degree in Physical Education in 1989. She was a member of the track team all 4 years, captain her senior year. Ran on school record-holding relay team, 4x200 and the 4x400. Professional career: 1989 to the present time, she's a teacher of physical education and health. For the past 6 years at Doherty Memorial High School in Worcester. From 1992 to 2002, she's the track coach at Shrewsbury High School, was. From 2007 to the present time, she's the head boys track coach at Doherty Memorial High School. In fact, she just came back from a track meet. Civic and community involvement: member of Preservation Worcester, 2004 to the present time. Involved in many local political campaigns. She's a member of the Massachusetts State Track Coaches Association. Member of the Massachusetts Association of Physical Education, Recreation, and Health. Family: husband Paul, sons Solomon and Buddy. Brothers: Frank, CHS class of 1977, Stephen, CHS class of 1979, Michael, CHS class of 1987, who teaches at the high school. One of the greatest sprinters to graduate from Chelmsford High School, Wendy Marshall-Ferner. Wendy?
First, I'd like to thank the nominating committee for honoring me by placing me in the Chelmsford Hall of Fame, and also allowing me to speak here tonight. I missed a lot of the festivities tonight because one of my athletes was competing in the National High School Indoor Track Competition that was held at the Reggie Lewis Center in Boston. His name is Angelito Destin, and he represented Doherty High School today in the high jump. I am proud of his accomplishments. He jumped 6'4", his best jump this year, 6'5", taking 12th place in the national meet tonight. He's here with me tonight. He really had no choice. He really had no choice. He had to come here, or he had to walk home to Worcester from Boston in the rain. I'd also like to congratulate the other inductees. It is my privilege to be a part of this class. I also feel that it is fitting that I'm inducted with Doc over here, because I pretty much started every one of my practice in the athletic training office, being treated for numerous athletic injuries. Doc put up with my incessant, loud talking. Thank you. I have so many people to thank for supporting me and making all my accomplishments as an athlete possible. I have to thank Chelmsford High School, my coach, Jack Lang, my teammates, and most importantly, my family. I feel I am very fortunate to have gone to such a great high school as Chelmsford High School. Now, as a high school PE, health teacher, and coach, I now realize how important it is to have a school that values all that athletics has to offer. Chelmsford High School has always supported the student athletes by providing excellent role models in their coaches, administrators that come to athletic events. For spectators, track meets can be very long and tedious. Having teachers and administrators there is a tremendous testament to their commitment to our school and our students. Chelmsford has also always supported athletics financially, providing opportunities that many high schools do not. Thank you, Chelmsford High School. I would like to thank Jack Lang. I was so lucky to have him as my coach. Early on, he set the standard for our team, and we went from not winning a meet my freshman year to winning the state relays. The tradition he started then, he still carries on today. Last year, an article appeared in the Lowell Sun entitled, "They Are Still Listening." It is a tribute to his years leading this tremendously respected Chelmsford High School girls track program. As well, he has been inducted into the Massachusetts Track Coaches Hall of Fame. Jack has shaped my life and many other young girls, but more importantly, you are a part of our afternoons, and you are a permanent part of our very precious high school memories. Now that I am a coach, every time I go to a state meet, the first person I look for is Jack. He is a source of comfort and inspiration. Whenever I refer to Jack as Mr. Lang, he says, "Wendy, call me Jack. Makes me feel old." Well, Jack, if the spikes fit. I just want to thank you, Grandpa Jack. I would be remiss if I did not mention assistant coaches Dean Quinn and Jeff Doherty, also boy coaches Mr. Chrisman and Dirk. Knowing that you were in my corner cheering for me was a great help. To my teammates who kept me honest every day in practice, even those days when I did not feel like running, thank you for pushing me. Every interval we ran in practice was a race in itself. You prepared me, just to name a few of the girls, Kim Cody, Lori Manzi, Laura Cato, Maura Frame, Beth Belmont, and Nancy Toronto. I know there were many more of you, but we were the beginning of a winning tradition. I would like to also honor a competitor of mine, the late Amy Leakites from Lowell High School, whose life was tragically cut short. I think of you often and know that the people around us make us better, and you definitely made me better. And finally, to my family, my biggest fans, my parents that never missed a meet. They deserve this as much as I do, if probably not more. They sat through every one of my meets, start to finish, not an easy task. To my mom, who would rub my feet during cold meets outside, trying to get the circulation in my toes going, and also calming my nerves, I thank you. And to my dad, who is an amazing athlete, teacher, and coach, he is also in his high school Hall of Fame in Bristol, Rhode Island, as well as the Mass State Football Coaches Hall of Fame. I just really wanted to be like you. And to my brothers, Frank, Stephen, and Michael, and Frank and Michael are here tonight. They truly are the reasons for my success as an athlete. You have to understand, growing up in a house with those three was like Mortal Kombat. I may not always have won every fight, but I learned never to give up. Regardless of what people say about winning today, especially when they say winning is not everything, in my house, it was the only thing. My brothers came to many of my meets. I had the scariest cheering squad. My brothers taught me about competition. Never be afraid, even if they look bigger and stronger. Heart and desire will take you far. They taught me to work hard because someday hard work would be good enough. Always keep your head up and be proud. Thank you guys for being you. I love you all. And to my husband, Paul, and my sons, Buddy and Solomon, thank you for sharing this night. I love you too. They now have the wrath of living with my very competitive nature. My husband listens to the recap of every meet, and he has stepped up as an advocate to many of the boys that I teach and coach. I would never be able to coach without his help. I've had the pleasure of coaching both my sons. I don't think it was necessarily their pleasure, but it was mine. I was very lucky to watch them compete, and I'm thankful for that. I believe that my life has truly been blessed, and I am grateful for all that I have, and owe so much to my family, Chelmsford High School, and to my second family, the boys that I coach. Thank you for honoring me tonight.
Great. Sean McAdam, class of 1977. At Chelmsford High School, member of the debate team. Participated in a debate his junior year that was judged by the late Paul Saunders. He entered a contest sponsored by the Real Paper, an alternative arts weekly in Cambridge, and became a teenage rock critic, attending concerts on a weekly basis and interviewing major rock stars. Spent most of his unscheduled time working part-time to help pay for his college education. His college career. Graduated from Providence College with a Bachelor of Arts degree in Political Science in 1981. He earned Dean's List honors and was actively involved in the student radio station WDOM-FM, where he served for a time as music director. Served an internship at the Rhode Island State House, where he worked in constituent services. Also had a work-study job at the box office of the Ocean State Theater. His professional career. In 1981, was hired as producer for an all-news radio station, WEAN-FM in Providence. His duties included booking guests for a nightly sports talk show, screening calls for the show, and occasional reporting duties. Later, he was given on-air responsibilities and delivered daily afternoon sports reports. In 1985, he left WEEN to write for the Providence Journal. At first, he covered high school sports and wrote a weekly media column. Later, he moved on to cover the New England Patriots and the Boston Bruins. In 1989, he became the paper's principal Boston Red Sox beat writer, a job he kept until 2008. While covering the Red Sox for the Journal, he appeared regularly on WPRO-AM and WSKO-AM in Providence, and was one of the first freelance contributors to ESPN.com, for whom he wrote a weekly column from 1996 to 2008. In 1999, he began as a regular contributor to WEEI-AM in Boston, serving as a co-host to The Big Show and occasional contributor to the station's midday show. For a period of 6 years, he was a weekly contributor to Red Sox This Week, a weekly show that aired on WBZ-TV and WSBK-TV in Boston. Also appearing regularly as a baseball analyst on Fox Sports News New England and WBZ-TV's Sports Final. Starting in 2002, he has been the co-host of Red Sox Baseball Today, a popular weekly radio show airing on WEI. In 2008, he left the Providence Journal after 23 years to join the staff of the Boston Herald as a baseball columnist. That same year, he left ESPN.com to become a weekly national baseball columnist for FoxSports.com. Just recently, he left the Herald to work as a baseball analyst for Comcast Sportsnet New England. His professional duties have taken him all over the United States and Canada, as well as the Caribbean and Japan. He has covered the Stanley Cup Finals, World Championship fights, 2 Super Bowls, 15 World Series, and countless All-Star games. Awards and honors. He's a recipient of the UPI Phillips Award in 1983 for outstanding broadcast work. Twice named Rhode Island Sports Writer of the Year, and was honored at the annual National Association of Sports Writers and Sportscasters dinners held in Salisbury, North Carolina. His civic and community involvement. Has been a regular volunteer and contributor to the annual Jimmy Fund Radiothon Telethon each August on WEEI Radio and Nesson. Family, father and mother Bob and Dolores McAdam. Dolores worked for the school department for many years, first in the superintendent's office and retired as the high school guidance secretary, working for us at the high school. His wife Suzanne, daughter Elizabeth, a senior at Providence College, son Connor, a freshman at NYU, 2 stepdaughters, Amanda, a freshman at Loyola University in Baltimore, Leah, a sophomore at Littleton High School. His brother Matthew was CHS class of 1986. another in a long line of outstanding journalists from CHS. I present to you Sean McAdam.
Thank you, Mr. Simonian. Thank you, Terry. I'd like to thank the Hall of Fame committee members and the board of directors, and in particular Bob Pariseau, for nominating me for this tremendous honor. One of the perks I enjoy as a long-standing member of the Baseball Writers Association of America is the privilege of casting a ballot each December for the Baseball Hall of Fame in Cooperstown. I'm also a member of the committee which reviews, nominates, and selects players for entrance into the Red Sox Hall of Fame. For a change this evening, I am on the other side of the equation, and I can tell you that it is both humbling and thrilling. 3 other colleagues in the Boston area sports media, Chaz Scoggins, Karen Garigian, and Jerry Callahan, are already members in good standing in the Chelmsford High Alumni Association Hall of Fame, and I am pleased to be in such good company with them this evening. We often joke that for a relatively small town, Chelmsford has earned the nickname Cradle of Sports Writers. Since learning of my election in December, I've had time to reflect a great deal about my time at Chelmsford High. It's given me an opportunity to put my high school years into perspective, to recall where I've been and consider where I'm heading. But arriving here this evening, I keep returning to a single question which crystallizes the journey I've taken since graduating in 1977, and that's this. Why the hell do I look so old while George Simonian looks exactly the way he did 33 years ago? And that, in turn, led to something of a revelation. You see, my class was the first to enter and then graduate from what was then the new Chelmsford High. Remember that at the time, freshmen attended Parker Middle School. The facility was then state-of-the-art and the envy of other towns and districts throughout the Commonwealth. But of course, one's formative experiences aren't shaped by a building, even one shiny and new. They're shaped by the people inside that building, the fellow students, the administrators, the principal, and most of all, the teachers. I was fortunate enough to be taught by men and women who challenged me, who piqued my interest, answered questions, and in turn asked them. One in particular, I remember being asked more than all the others, "Will you please be quiet?" Some of those teachers are here tonight, including 2 of my personal favorites, Bernie Battle and Rebecca Nordengren. Some others are not, but their impact was no less significant. They taught different subjects and had different approaches, but they had one thing in common. They taught me how to think, and just as critically, to think for myself. It's fashionable in some circles, sadly, to demonize teachers and blame them for all sorts of ills. But, and this is not meant as a knock on other professions, no one gathers in a hotel ballroom with family and friends 30-something years later to recall their favorite plumber or their favorite insurance salesman. That's because teachers have a unique and lasting role in our lives. And it's why I'm particularly proud that both my daughter Liza and my stepdaughter Amanda have decided to pursue careers in education. Liza is a senior at my other alma mater, Providence College, and in fact is here tonight. So Principal O'Brien, members of the school committee, and those in the superintendent's office, she can furnish her resume upon request. I also want to remember this evening my late dad, Robert McAdam, who I know, pardon me, is looking down with pride tonight. I want to thank my lovely wife, Sue, my daughter, Liza, my son, Connor, and my two stepdaughters, Amanda and Leah, and my brother, Matt, who, as Mr. Simonian mentioned, is also another proud Chelmsford High alum, class of 1986. And while I am immensely proud of the honor bestowed on me tonight, I must say that in some ways, I consider myself unworthy. For if a member of the McAdam family belongs in the Chelmsford High Hall of Fame, that surely is someone whose contributions, hard work, and legacy to the school far outstrip mine. She was a fixture in the guidance office at Chelmsford High for so many years, and a dear friend and co-worker to so many of you. I couldn't be more proud that she's here to share my special evening tonight with my mom. Dolores, please stand up. Thank you once again for this terrific honor. My congratulations to all my fellow inductees, Mr. Simonian, Terry, Bob Paraso. Thank you again for a night I will truly never forget. Thank you.
Stephen Meidell, principal, high school. Graduated from Malden High School, class of 1965. Member of the National Honor Society, member of the Latin Honor Society, member of the Greek Club, one of the charter members and the vice president of the Future Teachers of America Club, and the recipient of the Rotary Scholastic Award. College career. Graduated from Boston College with a Bachelor of Arts degree in English and secondary education in 1969. Graduated from Boston University with a master's degree in instructional technology and communications in 1976. Graduated from Rivier College with a master's degree in secondary school administration in 1981. Attended American Studies Summer Institute at Tufts in 1983 and attended Process Writing Summer Institute at UMass Amherst in 1987. Attended Newspaper in the Classroom Summer Institute with the Lowell Sun at UMass Lowell and with the Boston Globe. His professional career, from 1969 to 1971 at Chelmsford High School as a teacher of English. 1971 to 1973, the United States Army. Stationed at the United States Military Academy at West Point as a protocol specialist in the Office of the Superintendent of the Academy. 1973 to 2002, back to Chelmsford High School, teacher of English. Created mass media and journalism courses. Many of his students went on to become outstanding journalists and writers, such as Karen Garegian, Lynn Tolman, Jerry Callahan, Chris Passari, Peter and Paul Reynolds, and Matt Pitter. He also taught American literature, American studies, poetry, and process writing. From 1983 to 1994, he was the English department head. He developed a summer reading program, created world literature courses for seniors and world studies courses encompassing art, history, and English. He was a literary advisor to the student paper, The Voice, a Columbia Award-winning news magazine. From 1994 to 1995, he was the dean of Whittier House. He developed an alternative evening school program with Al Thomas, who was the dean of Hawthorne House at the time. From 1995 to 2002, the principal of Chelmsford High School. Created a student forum for students of all ability levels to problem-solve issues and complete school and community service projects. Developed and implemented a modified block schedule, creating a long and short blocks of instruction to increase graduation requirements and teaching contact time. He increased parent involvement through the PTO, Parent Liaison Committee, and school improvement teams. From 2004 to the present time, he's an adjunct professor in the Math and Humanities Department at Nashua Community College in Nashua, New Hampshire. He teaches freshman writing courses and freshman seminars in study skills. From November 2007 to August of 2009, he serves as the interim vice president of academic affairs at Nashua Community College. In the 1980s, he was a part-time lecturer at Riviere and through the Middlesex Community College taught writing at the MCI Prison Education Program. Professional associations and affiliations. As a faculty member, he was the president of the Chelmsford Federation of Teachers, president of the Chelmsford High School Faculty Association, and member of the selection committee for the American Field Service Club, a student exchange program. As the principal, member of the National Association of Secondary School Principals, member of the Merrimack Valley Principals Association, member of the MIAA Soccer Committee, and member of the New England Association of Schools and Colleges Visitation Team, member of the Chelmsford Public Schools Professional Development Committee. His civic and community involvement, member of the Chelmsford Rotary Club from 1996 to 2002. He coached Chelmsford Youth Soccer 1985 to 1995. He's the team captain of the Chelmsford 24-Hour Relay Challenge in 1998 through 2000. Playground Development Committee for the Harrington and Parker Middle Schools. He serves presently as a driver for the American Cancer Society, providing transportation to treatment facilities and back, 2002 to the present time. He's also a member of the Chelmsford High School Alumni Association. His family includes his wife, Fran, who was a teacher at the Harrington from 69 to 75 and now teaches in Lowell. His daughters, Julie, CHS class of 1993. Erica, CHS class of 1997, and son-in-law, Chris. Erica has been an English teacher at CHS. Amy, CHS class of 2000, son-in-law, Keith. Son Christopher, CHS class of 2002. 4 lovely granddaughters, Lily, twins Amanda and Zoe, and Maya. Gives me a great deal of pleasure to introduce to you one of my colleagues, Steve Meidell.
Yes, I do have a speech. I thought about winging this because, after all, I teach English, and I, this past semester, taught a course in oral presentation. But then I had a flashback to my first year as the principal of Chelmsford High School. I'm sure Jack remembers this. It was the fall athletic, recognition night for fall sports. And I had forgotten my cards, so I said, no big deal, I can wing this. And I did a very good job introducing and thanking the coaches, et cetera, until I got to the part where I wanted to recognize the Boosters Club. But unfortunately, I said instead, and our athletics would not be the same without our athletic supporters. Initially, I couldn't understand why people were laughing, but then my face got red. So I want to first thank President Terry McSheehy and members of the Executive Board of the Chelmsford High School Alumni Association, and especially my treasured colleague, George Simonian, for this distinguished honor. I'm quite proud to be included among the distinguished inductees of the 2010 Chelmsford High School Alumni Hall of Fame. I want to especially thank my former student, Chris Pizarek, for his very kind article in the Alumni magazine. I was amazed, Chris, to see you recalled my short time on stage in Arsenic and Old Lace, playing a delusional character who thought he was Teddy Roosevelt. Some parts come naturally. Many critics of public education and public educators call us delusional. They fail to understand and appreciate the idealism that we hold. It is our unflinching optimism that inspires our students to dream. Tonight certainly presents many reasons for us to be proud of public education, and especially Chelmsford High School. So tonight, there have been many occasions when I wanted to jump up and yell, "Bully!" in the spirit of Teddy Roosevelt. Too often recently, in answer to some of the critics of public education, I wanted to use that other word, bullpoop. At past Hall of Fame dinners as Chelmsford High School principal, my task was quite simple, to tell of the great achievements of our students, faculty, coaches, and administration, a topic, as many of you know, I could go on for many minutes, seemingly hours. Tonight I have very few words to say about my own achievements. Stephen Meidell, the youngest of two children of incredibly loving parents, Lily and Stephen Meidell, is no extraordinary individual. Trust me, I've lived with him all these years. Had I not met a special woman in the summer of my sophomore year at Boston College, I would not be standing here tonight as an inductee into the Chelmsford Hall of Fame. Before I met my wonderfully inspiring wife, the source for all good things in my life, then Frances DeRubis, I had little ambition but to teach, and I had no idea where the town of Chelmsford was. I learned quickly as Fran in 1969 was invited to interview in Chelmsford by her then college supervisor, Dan Horgan, who many of you remember was the late principal of Byam School. Being so in love, I seized the opportunity to drive Fran to this town in what I considered, I apologize, the boonies. I decided, since I had to wait, that I would hone my interviewing skills by dropping into Chelmsford High School, which was then housed at what is now the McCarthy Middle School. I was interviewed by then English Department Head Martha Kineen and Principal John Conrad. Their enthusiasm for their students and their encouragement of my skills as a new teacher found me accepting a job before I even knew how Fran's interview went. Fran and I commuted from Everett to Malden during our first years, she teaching, as George mentioned, at Harrington Elementary, and I at the high school. Later, as many of you know, we would move to Chelmsford and decide to educate our children here. In my years as a teacher of English, my colleagues in the English department and those in other departments were always there for me. They inspired me to grow by allowing me into their classroom, into their files of lesson plans and teaching materials, and into their wealth of experiences. They most importantly accepted me as a professional educator, a colleague, and eventually a friend. My earliest mentors were the exceptional educators Ed Carpenter, Helen Poland, Beverly McCoy, and Fred and Mary Donovan. From talented colleagues and cherished friends like Risa Dubin, Sandy Taylor, Denise Coffey, Ann Swisburne, Barry Weir, Carol Marcotte, Mary May, Rebecca Nordengren, Andy Pasquale, Aileen Scheimer, and Debbie Joyce, I learned to be more creative so I could meet the needs of all my students. From dedicated colleagues and dear friends like Jan Silver, Jack Fletcher, Nancy Williams, Richard Olson, Dick O'Donnell, Ann O'Brien, Carl Rondina, Rob Russo, and Tom Souza, I was awakened to the importance of working with students outside of the classroom. As I left the classroom for administration, I knew I was leaving our students in very good hands, with teachers who shared the commitment to collaboration and realizing students' potential. Teachers such as Cindy Sandholm, Matt Bartos, my daughter Erica Harrington, Dave Steves, Mary Deislinger, Mike O'Keefe, Joshua Blagg, Lauren Cochran, and Paula Brown. I then was mentored for a leadership role by the very first deans of Chelmsford High School and special colleagues and supportive friends, Jack Conrad, Ed Quinn, and Don Boucher, and later by Angie Taranto. My mentors in curriculum development were the talented department chairs Mike Tate, Bob Kerouac, John Ramallo, Bob Paraso, Donna Bates, and Cinda Tonry. I grew in my role as principal for the wisdom and guidance of the inspirational George Simonian. I still never learned to look that young and be that energetic, however. I also gained tremendous assistance from our then school psychologist, Dan Roser, and from the dedication, integrity, and creativity of my fellow administrators, my dream team, Deans Bernie Battle, Jeff Doherty, and Al Thomas. These three men were an inspiration to me in their roles as gifted teachers, as caring administrators, and as true friends. They are the brothers I never had. And I understand they've been behaving tonight like my brothers. It has reached me, gentlemen. Now, you can't blame Al for this because he's on a cruise with his wife. Al would get any excuse to listen to my speeches. But it's become to my attention that there's a statement going around tonight. You all know you're losing an hour of sleep because of the time change. Well, I understand you two have been going around and saying, don't worry about it, you can sleep during Steve's speech. Chelmsford High School students have always afforded me their respect, their trust, and for many, their friendship. My first classes at Chelmsford High School were not the most skilled in the language arts, but they were patient with my attempts to make them love Fahrenheit 451 and the Scarlet Letter. They put forth their best effort as writers, even if they struggled to write a paragraph. Together we came to realize we were all human and therefore made mistakes. But more importantly, we were good people who cared about each other and dared to seek our full potential together. I as a teacher, they as positive contributors to their chosen careers and family. I've had the honor of working with many wonderful, incredibly talented students. Some present or future Hall of Famers, others successful in their own way. My class list contains such names as Karen Garigian, Lisa Mercier, Cheryl Dumont, Kirk Simonian, Elisa Simonian, Peter and Paul Reynolds, Christina Shields, Matt Pitta, Sheila Kirschbaum, David Upton, Lynn Toman, Scott Bell, Kiss Prozirik, Jerry Serra, Julie Meidell, Jessica Blagg, Dave Lambert, Kathy Egan, Beata Thorstensen, Ben Curry, Lyndon Johnson, no, not the former president, and even foreign exchange students Eardley Dykstra and Anna Meininger. My most cherished memories of Chelmsford High School are times when I witnessed our students advocating for their peers, offering companionship to a new student, volunteering their talents in representing our town, and comforting their peers, parents, and faculty during the death of someone special. Often at such occasions as tonight, certain important individuals are not recognized. However, Sean took a little bit of my wind here. I wish to add these individuals to my list of teammates in my success as an educator at Chelmsford High School. First, I want to recognize Vicki Demita, administrative assistant to many Chelmsford High School principals, beginning with George Simoni, strangely enough, ending with me. She assures me that I did not drive her into retirement. Vicki, would you stand up and get well-deserved applause? Vicki served me and the other principals in so many ways, as keeper of the books, as unofficial mentor of new teachers and staff, as mediator with upset parents and students, and behind the scenes advocate for all students. She dedicated her years at Chelmsford High School to making sure things were done professionally and students, faculty, staff, and parents were treated fairly. Vicki, along with her good friend and colleague Dolores McAdams, Sean's mom, as you now know, and the House Secretaries Carol Raris, Kathy Boudreau, and Stella McCormick were integral to any endeavor I had made at Chelmsford High School. Second, our supportive high school climate was also nurtured by our dedicated school nurses, Maureen Perry and Nancy Swain, and by the multi-talented Judy Villano and Carol Rogers as administrative assistants to that crazy athletic director, Jack Fletcher. By our motherly house aides and by our student-oriented librarians, Goldie Creamer and Valerie Diggs, by our friendly custodians, Louis Giusetto and the late Billy Bowden, and student supervisor, Kevin Branco. Certainly our high school would not be the successful incubator of such student success as we honor tonight if Chelmsford High School did not enjoy the support of caring parents who serve on various committees. People like Jack McDougall, Madeline Needles, Kit Harbison, Judy Millette, Dick Rogers, Janice Rule, and community organizations like the Rotary and the Elks that provide recognition of and a forum for our students' achievements. I'm certain I've gone beyond my allotted 5 minutes because George has his watch out, and therefore will close by publicly thanking my talented and supportive children for putting up with my many times away from family events and their activities and surviving the pressure of having a parent who was a teacher at your high school and then your high school principal. Not an easy role to play. Mine I'm talking about, not yours. You are distinguished Chelmsford High alumni and talented contributors to a better world. Julie is a mom of, George mentioned, 3 beautiful and caring daughters and a respected HR director at NIPRO. Erica is a new mom of an adorable baby daughter, Maya, and dedicated English teacher at Chelmsford High School. Amy, I don't know where this one came in our family, a trusted financial supervisor at Staples Corporation. There's not a math gene in our bones. And Chris, she may be adopted. And Chris, a creative editor of promotional videos for MTV. I'm so proud to be your father. I'm also blessed to have 2 very supportive and talented sons-in-laws, Chris Harrington and Keith Griffiths. Educators can't afford counselors and therapists, but we do need them. That role is often played or filled by family and friends. To my sister-in-law, Maureen, and her husband, Fred, and the many friends who have always been there for me and who are here for me tonight, especially Judy Olson, John, Nancy Egan, Jim, Joyce, and Mary Rawlinson, Ellen and Dick Gendro. You are, and truly, wonderful gifts. Chelmsford High School, faculty, staff, students, and parents, along with good friends, have been a major part of my life, from my marriage to Fran to the birth and education of each of our children, from the death of my parents to my being drafted during the Vietnam War. All of you were there for me during the deaths of too many of students and our dear colleagues. You shared in moments of pride and stood by me during the darkest moments of my career. You are all God's special gifts. I accept this award tonight in honor of all that we, not I, accomplished for Chelmsford High School. Thank you.
Richard Siebert, class of 1966. At Chelmsford High School, member of the freshman football team, member of the varsity choir his sophomore year, member of the varsity hockey team, junior and senior years. His college career, graduated from Western New England College with a Bachelor of Science degree in Law Enforcement, cum laude, in 1998. Graduated from Western New England College with a Master of Science degree in Criminal Justice Administration in the year 2000. Graduated from St. John's Seminary in 2006, sacramental ordination to the permanent diaconate, ordained by Cardinal Sean P. O'Malley. His professional career, United States Navy, 1966 to 1969. He enlisted upon graduation from high school. Following completion of multiple naval schools, he went to Vietnam and served with an inshore undersea warfare group. This group served the vital role of protecting ships in the Quinyon Harbor. His unit never lost a ship. During his tour in Vietnam, he also served as a boat captain and patrol captain, serving with crews carrying out special operations and supporting the United States Navy SEALs. His service in the Navy was recognized with multiple awards, including, among others, the Combat Action Ribbon, Navy Unit Commendation, and several Republic of Vietnam Campaign and Service medals. Massachusetts State Police, from 1973 to the present time. Trooper First Class, stationed in Troop A in Framingham, also Massachusetts Turnpike Authority, Troop E. Awards and honors. Received the Trooper's Top Award, the Bulldog, for outstanding contribution to the Massachusetts State Police for charity work in support of Boston Children's Hospital in 1981. His civic and community involvement. Knights of Columbus, from 1989 to the present time. Served in many leadership positions, Grand Knight, 3 terms as District Deputy, Supreme Delegate to the National Convention in 1995. Easter Seals Society, 1989 to 1998. Volunteer swim instructor with disabled children and adults at the Newburyport YMCA. Dana-Farber Cancer Institute, from 1990 to 2005. Blood platelet donor, contributed over 150 blood platelet donations annually, recognized as a donor at the Kraft Family Blood Platelet Donation Banquet. WBZ Farm Stand from 1980 to 1998. Longtime volunteer for the Dave Maynard WBZ Radio Farm Stand in support of Children's Hospital in Boston. Devoted many hours to security and fundraising from 1980 until his fundraising was discontinued. Immaculate Conception Parish, 1985 to the present time. Lector and Eucharistic minister. Volunteer in youth ministry programs. Assistant spiritual director, a primary leadership role serving approximately 80 men. Administers the sacraments of baptism and marriage as part of the permanent diaconate. Other organizations, Inshore Undersea Warfare Group, made up of U.S. Navy veterans, served as the chaplain since 2006. Member of the Disabled American Veterans, Veterans of Foreign Wars, Chelmsford High School Alumni Association. His family includes his wife, Claire, children, Richard, Diana, Laura, Kerry, Eric, Kristen, and Rachel. 1 grandchild, Tyler. His brother, Robert, CHS class of 1965, and sister, Lynn, CHS class of 1975. I would now like to read a short note that was written by Siebert to his nominators. What I do know is I haven't done anything else everybody else has done. I care about people. I can go right down the list of every one of you and bring up one thing after another of things you have achieved. The times in your lives that all of you have put others first. Times you have sacrificed time and time again without thinking for a second about yourself. I have said this before, and I will say it again, more than once, how blessed I have been to have been brought into your lives and having you all in mine. I just felt I had to somehow respond, bad spelling and all. Just knowing that you think that I might even be worthy for this means more to me than if I was chosen. You are the best, and I love you all. You all remain in my prayers. God bless, Sieb. This is Richard Siebert, class of 1966.
Thank you. My wife asked me where my speech was. I said I put it inside the church bulletin so it wouldn't get wet. She said, well, what? I said, who's going to open a church bulletin to look for my speech? I'd like to start by thanking the Board of Directors and a member of Chelmsford High School Hall of Fame Committee. And never could I forget the greatest support of all, the support of my classmates, any one of the 76ers and our fearless leader, Mr. Don Boucher, who right now is praying that we do nothing that will cause him to never be invited back to this evening. That they saw in me the qualities that would bring this honor, not only to me, but my classmates in Chelmsford High School. The way that our personalities are formed started at an early age. I was blessed with a strong family, parents, grandparents, aunts, and uncles. My dad was 100% DAV, and these people had to step in a lot to help my mom out. And they unselfishly gave of themselves of much time when needed. We moved from Cambridge to Chelmsford in 1956, which was quite a rude awakening to wake up the first morning in Chelmsford and have cows and chickens in your backyard. I looked at my life as a jigsaw puzzle, and I still do. There's so many pieces that still need to be fitted in. But I learned that some of the pieces are good, some of those pieces are bad. What makes the difference is to take those bad pieces and make good out of them to fit them into that puzzle. And people make up most of those pieces in that puzzle. When I was at Chelmsford High School, no one ever said, "Sieb, what a great student, what a great athlete," because I wasn't. And that was okay, what I was, because I was part of Chelmsford High School. When I did sports or whatever else I became involved in, it was about being part of something. I had wonderful teachers that I felt never judged me, but did their best to nudge me in the right direction. I need a lot of nudging. And speaking of nudging, my favorite nudger was Miss C. Edith McCarthy. Many times I'd be heading down the hall and would be asked, "Where you going, Sieb?" And I'd just smile and say, "I'm going to see Edith." Miss McCarthy never acted angry. It was always just started out with her pointing to the bench behind me and going, "Sit." Then I would wait, and when she would ask me what I was here for, she already knew what I was there for. She just wanted to see if I came up with anything good on the way down the hallway on my walk. One of the best ones was Mr. DeSantis had left math class one day, and it had snowed out, and there was snow on the window ledge. So myself and Rick Schultz kind of thought it'd be a great idea to maybe toss a snowball in class. Well, it wasn't my fault he ran across in front of the blackboard when I let one fly. So when Mr. DeSantis comes back, he sees the wet mice looking around. He walks up to the desk, and Miss McCarthy goes, "Oh, he was really angry when he called me on the phone." I said, "He probably wouldn't have been so angry if he just tapped the water off his monthly planner." I said, "Instead, he took his hand and went across like this, and it kind of looked all the same color after that." Miss McCarthy had a way of letting me know that she had power, but instead of talking down to you and making you feel bad, I actually usually used to make you feel good when you walked out of there. And I carried this with me to the state police. You know, the thing about the pen is mightier than the sword and all that stuff, yeah, that's wonderful. But there was nothing like having a couple maybe breaking down one time. They were heading for their first anniversary, and they're heading to Bermuda, and they're trying to catch a flight. They're up in Newburyport area. I just threw everything in my cruiser and said, "Let's go." I called up the tow company, said, "Just park it someplace in the yard." And I took them to the airport, which is 15 miles out of my patrol area. Not that I haven't been known to leave the patrol area once in a while. But you know, this all came from being treated the way I was treated by my teachers in high school. It wasn't about using a power. It was about being who you wanted to be. And it's like, I mean, one time I caught some students from Chelmsford High School going up to the beach. And I just figured, well, if you're really from Chelmsford High School, you got a choice. You get outside the car and you sing the Chelmsford High fight song, or you get a summons. So I got 3 kids standing outside the car on the side of 495 singing the Chelmsford High fight song. Another cruiser pulls up, he goes, "What the hell are you doing?" I said, "They're singing the Chelmsford High fight song." He said, "I should have known that." No, but it wasn't, you know, Miss Canine was mentioned, and apparently Mr. Boucher brings up quite a bit about my punctuation. You're supposed to somebody told me to put dots and stuff somewhere in a sentence. I don't know about that. It just seems to look great the way I do it most of the time. But Miss Canine, I gave her fits. The poor lady, just to get me out of her English class, let me write my senior paper out in pencil on sharks. She says, "This isn't any good." I said, "Sure it is. It's Spanish. I'm out of here." But you know, I don't really remember any bad memories from Chelmsford High School, but Then again, I walked out to my cruiser and forgot my gun and radio in the house, so maybe it's good if I forgot them that I did. But what I carried was good feelings. And I'm a proud father of 7 children, 5 of which are soon will be in high school. My happy times at Chelmsford High have enabled me to truthfully prepare my children for the challenges and choices that they may face. I understand and remember so many of the feelings they will face. And thanks to my mentors and classmates, I am a better parent for having been there. I was when I was. After the class of 1966 had their 40th reunion, Joe Bergeron set up a website. It became a great place to go and find out what was going on. Most of it all became a place of incredible support for some of us, whether it was a loss of a loved one or someone in crisis, or somebody in our own lives that just things weren't going well. I was blessed to be able to be there for some of my classmates. And then in 2006, when I was diagnosed with stage 4 laryngeal cancer and later colon cancer, the cavalry arrived, 66ers. They were there for me. And a lot of the lurkers that are out there that don't get on that often, they jumped on. So many classmates were there for me. My father-in-law died, a great man, the Sarge. He was my best friend. The 66ers, they didn't even know my father-in-law. They came out of the woodwork, came near and far to Arlington for the wake and the funeral and just to support my wife and her family. These types of behavior don't happen to people overnight. They're formed over time. I came through my dark time with the most incredible wife God could have ever sent me. My daughters, my son, my mother, and so many other family members and friends. Life is a journey, and I've had one hell of a ride. Pat Conrad used to put on the bottom of some of her emails, a friend is someone who will bail you out of jail. A true friend is somebody who will sit in a jail cell with you and say, wow, that was fun. I'd like to congratulate the other attendees tonight. We never had a principal like you. Thank you.
Great. I mean, this is what Chelmsford High School is all about. It really is. I mean, what can I say? I've been with it since 1957, you know, and it's just an amazing school. I'm way off base here, I know I am, but I've got to tell you something. I see a lot of people and talk to a lot of people, and one of the hallmarks of Chelmsford High School is the number of Chelmsford High School graduates who come back and teach in their high school. It says something. I don't know what it says, but it does say something. I tell a lot of people that, and they come, what do you mean? They come back and teach in their high school that they went to? I says, a lot of them do. Like I said, that says something. I don't know what it says, but it says something about our school. Now to close, I'd like to thank a number of people who helped put this evening together. When I call your name, please stand and remain standing until I have you all standing. And please hold your applause until I have them all up. Bruce McMaster, Sue Clancy, Cheryl Dumont. Come on, stand up, are you? Okay, good. Okay. Bobby Parasol, Rebecca Warren, Mark Willett, Tommy Peterson, well, he's already standing. Terry Dumont, Mara Devaney. Mara, good. Now for your round of applause. Congratulations to the new members of our Hall of Fame. I want to thank you all for coming tonight. Please be careful out in the parking lot. It's dark out there. Drive home carefully. Next year, March the 26th, 2011, I have tickets. Now, the dessert and coffee is out there where we had the previous reception. You can have the coffee and dessert out there. My suggestion is you bring it all back here, and let's have some socialization and renew friendships. And somebody, please save me a piece of carrot cake. Thank you, enjoy, and I've had a great evening. Thank you. It was good.